It's week 5, and we have top end talent performing like they were picked at pick 170. I'll be telling you how worried you should be on today's action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. You can find me on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it these days at Matthew_Ane. Last name is spelled for you people listening on the audio. A as an apple, H as in Harry, N as in Nancy, E as in Echo. If you're watching on YouTube, please select the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you may listen. It really helps out the show, and trust me, we appreciate it. And guys, if you want more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, please check out the Diamond Club on Subtext. The link is in the description below. You'll get way more stuff than what we offer here, and I'm telling you, it'll really give you a leg up on your competition, and help you win that league. So check us out. Links in the description. Get free 2 weeks. Also, guys, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use the code all lowercase LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit match up to $100. Whew. All right, guys. It's Wednesday, and it's Freak Out Wednesday Worryometer, and I got a few guys on the meter that I actually am panicking about, and I have some guys that are actually, I'm not too worried about yet, but we're getting to the zone where it possibly. So let's see what happens and kind of roll from there, right? Let's start off with the biggest name and probably one of the biggest question marks I've been getting in the comment sections of YouTube and things like that, right? And that's Ronald Acuna. People are actually talking about moving this dude. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Yes, he hasn't cranked out, too many home runs to start off the season, but those will come. Ronald Acuna is an amazing talent. And, what he did last year obviously isn't repeatable, but even on an average year, the dude is totally one of those guys that can, crank out a 40-40 season with ease. How close he'll get to the 47 again, who knows? I don't think it's humanly possible again, but I mean, hey, he had an incredible year last year, but again, still worth the first overall pick, and I'm not moving him. I'm not trying to trade him. I'm not worried about it. Yes, he's having a little bit of a slow start last April, March. He had 4 home runs. I get it. It's only been 1. But he's stealing bags. He's still doing that. And that's something that's truly encouraging, especially with, the MCL pain or whatnot, the knee pain that he had going into the season, right as spring training kicked off. So, that part isn't hampered, which is the part that I was most concerned about Ronald Acuna coming into the season. So ultimately, I can't be too worried about him. I mean, he's the best player in baseball. The home runs are going to come. Yes, it's a little lackadaisy with him. I mean, he's not even producing the ribbies category. He has 6 ribs, but 13 stolen bases. The batting average is kind of ugly too. Not ugly for him, essentially 255. But the thing is, though, he's walked 18 times to 33 strikeouts. Yes, it's actually not as good as last year, where he literally was only 4 off from being level peg. He was looking like freaking Juan Soto last year, but all his other years, he's been a higher strikeout to walk kind of guy. Like in 2022, which also was a fantastic season for him in his shortened time, right? Before he obviously got hurt himself. He still batted about 53 walks to 126 strikeouts, even in 21, which was another really good year. Where he again was hurt. It makes me feel ugly saying it. He had 49 walks to 85 strikeouts. So the dude does strike out quite a bit, but at the same time, maybe he's taking that step forward. Dude's young as hell. He's 26 this year. There's still room for improvement. Maybe the batting average even creeps up sooner than later. His OPS is still 708, so it's not completely in the toilet. His OBP isn't horrendous either at 378. Yes, we'd like it a little bit higher, obviously, closer to 400, but at the same time, I mean, his better seasons where he's been incredible, he's had 351, 394, 365. Like those are okay numbers. So like I'm not really like worried about anything with him. Everything surrounding Ronald Acuna as a whole tells me that he's okay. And you got to just look past the ball not going over the fence right now. And it could just be a slow start this year. Maybe they're changing something for him. Obviously, the loss of Strider and the tumultuous things going on in their team could be hampering him. But again, Acuna is probably going to break out right as you're listening to this podcast, funny enough. And you really have nothing to worry about. He's a 0 on the Richter scale. The only time I'll get worried is if we start hearing he's injured, but I don't think it's that. So let's move on. Let's talk Matt Olson, same team. Another, you know, late bloomer to the season, we'll say, somebody that's not performing too hot. But you know what? It is what it is. Yes, the dude hit 54 home runs last year, had 139 ribs, and batted 283. I get it. It's scary. He's now has 3 home runs only has 3 home runs and batting 206. I get it. Like it is like a little bit of a nerve wracking for a guy you picked probably in the second round or the end of the first, depending on your draft league size and things like that. But I mean, Matt Olson's going to be just fine. You know, he's looking good. You know, his OBP is a little low at a 311, but his slugs at 392, which is not atrocious, but still kind of low. But his OPS is a 703. So like things are looking okay. And I don't see anything that's like sticking out to me. It's like, okay, like he's really not getting like not getting on base or doing anything of the sort. So let me pull up just want to pull up some real quick of how he started last year essentially. I think he was pretty good out the gate, but I just want to pull that information. So yeah, like last year he was kind of like well out the gate and was kind of incredible. Let's go back another year to 2022 and see what that looked like. And you know what? Outside of last year, you look at 2022, he only had 2 home runs, then kind of cranked it and had, 2 home runs, then 4 home runs, and 6, then 9, then 6, then 7. He started off a little slow. The only thing that's kind of like uncharacteristic to that start in comparison to the 2 seasons is he's batting 293 through that time, whereas he's batting 202, which is kind of ugly. Now, let's take another step back. Let's go to 21. Just so we can kind of get a little bit more clarity and kind of see what's going on with him. So he wasn't a slow start that season, still batted the 296. So I guess where I'm going with this is there has been like a track record of him having a slow start, and then he ended up being just fine anyway. Matt Olson is somebody that you can't really, get overreact too much. He was picked that high. He performed that well last year. There's no reason he's not going to again. Matt Olson is going to be just fine at age 30 of all ages. He's just wait. By the end of May, we're going to be like, yeah, why are we even talking about this dude? I'm not worried whatsoever. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Corey Seager. Corey Seager is having a slow month. And honestly, it's to be expected. He didn't play much of spring. Actually, like literally only got about 8 at bats because he was coming back from the injury. Didn't really have too much of a ramp up time like everybody else in the MLB. So, like, this is to be expected. You were drafting him knowing he was hurt coming into the season and, was kind of able to make it just in time to go and play a regular season. And you know what? It's still not a bad start for a guy that really hasn't like ramped up. Yes, he's batting 233, but he has 2 bombs, he has 7 ribs. He has 12 runs. Even the walk to strikeouts, like he has 12 walks to 19 strikeouts. That's really good, especially in points leagues. He's not mutilating you. Yes, he's not producing either, but he's not bad. Yeah, we'd like the slug and OPS and things like that a little bit better, but he's doing his thing. And again, he's about a month behind everybody else. Now is like kind of like his opening day this week, right? Whereas everybody else has had a full month to prep before this month. So Corey Seager, I think, is going to be just fine. No worryometers on these last 3 guys. I can't even stress that enough. Do not freak out. Don't worry about it. Corey Seager will be just fine. Give him another week. If anything, throw out a bid out there trying to go and acquire him because I promise you it'll be worth it. But yeah, let's move on. And before I do talk about, a guy like Randy Rosarina and Bo Bichette, what's going on with them, I do have like a sponsor or 2 for you, and I promise they're good ones. And guys, here we go. This Mother's Day, get something thoughtful for your mom on DoorDash. So surprise her from wherever you are with fresh bouquet, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treatments, and more to make her day that much better. Use the code Locked On MLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. Pair flowers with gift cards so she can celebrate any way she wants. Is she a bookworm? Try getting her a bookstore gift card. Does she love good latte? Get her a gift card to her favorite coffee shop. You can't go wrong, honestly. Plus, you get the convenience of shopping on your phone so you don't have to be the one scrambling, driving around to whatever store is open that will have something your mom may happen to like. Trust me, I've been there. Sorry, mom. It was a long time ago, but by a long time ago, last Mother's Day. Um, Order now and get to everything you need on Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use the code Locked On MLB to get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend 15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery store, or retail order on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms may apply. Guys, we're also talking Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You can make your pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stats projections and watching the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on Prize Picks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. Prize Picks is incredibly user friendly. You can make your selections, submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. And as a host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, I might as well give you some good picks to start your day off, right? Offer Nestor Cortez to have higher than 5.5 Ks in his next game. Offer Bryce Harper to have higher than zero point 0.5 total bases in next outing. Offer Mike Trout to have higher than zero point 0.5 home runs in his next game. Download the app today. Use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. And guys, I promise you won't regret it. It is a great platform. So pick more, pick less. It is that easy with Prize Picks. And guys, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or for free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, 7 Eastern, streaming live on Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube for free on Amazon Fire TV channel app. Also introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. This season, rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone with waiver wire rankings, instant call notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of those fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. Subscribe now, elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. And guys, we're also offering, when you join, the first 2 weeks are on us. And then I promise you will want to stick around because of all those call-up notifications. Super 2's around the corner. You don't want to be behind everybody else who's got the super fast apps. We're here for you. And sometimes when I miss it, my boy Lewis will just call me out on it and be like, yo, this guy's getting called up. So I got a backup in there who takes care of us. Shout out to Lewis today. But yeah, let's keep it moving here. Let's talk some baseball. And let's talk Randy Rosarina. Randy has been bad, 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 and I don't understand it. So far on the season, he's had about 108 at bats. He's had 12 runs. He's had 2 doubles, 3 bombs, 9 ribs, 4 stolen bases, and 11 walks to 34 strikeouts, batting a measly 148. And the OBP is a 227. The slug is a 250. The OPS is a 477. Like, those stats alone tell me, like, yo, something's wrong. Even though he was managed to be able to get 3 home runs and the stolen bases aren't bad either. But, this is a dude that has, floor of 20 stolen bases and a ceiling of like 40 and, should hit 25 home runs. So, like, and also has batted about anywhere from like 250 to 270 over his MLB career between 21, 22, and 23. He hit last year 254, the year before 263, and the year before that 274. Like Randy has just is a five category contributor, maybe not like super elite in the power category, but definitely in the stolen base category. And batting average, he's always contributed along with being on base and getting more runs and ribs have been substantial over the last 2 years. So like I'm not sure what's going on. You look at like, I mean, I could pull up his baseball savant, and I'm going to tell you right now, like it's probably all blue, which is not good for baseball savant. Let's pull it up real quick. Like, let's see here, getting it up real fast for you guys. Oh, fiddlesticks. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just like, can can he hurt me any more than what he's already doing? You know what I'm saying? Here, I apologize. It is the slowest website on the planet. So yeah, it's really a lot of blue. Maybe like a faint red, which is like, hey, like you're kind of crossing the threshold here. But like his hard hit is not great. Like his hard hit percentage, I mean, not hitting the ball like on his average. The sweet spot's not great. Kind of getting close to the barrel, but not really. Average exit velocity is pretty much normal. Um, he's like whiffing a lot more. He's striking out a little bit more. Like these are things you kind of look at here. Um, Even his max EV, which I mean, yes, it's still short. Yes, the stats I'm comparing it to obviously are full seasons, but still, he's not even like getting relatively like closer. And like when you're talking like miles per hour, like 2 or 3 is pretty far off, and he's at 111, whereas average over the last 2 years is 114. So it is a significant difference there. Um, you know, when he goes for the sweet spot, it's 25% over 31% in the past season. Like it's just not looking good. Even his WOBA is way down. Last year was a 347. He's at a 222. Ah, man. And like I said, I was talking about the hard hit. I didn't have it in front of me to compare it, but like last year was 48. He's hitting at 36%. It's just not great, and he's also striking out 28% of the time from 23. So there's a lot of factors as to what's going on, Randy, and why he's not performing. And ultimately, what I'm getting at with all these stats that I'm reading off is there's a lot of things that are out of character. And I don't know if this is him just trying to get right and trying to break the cycle and trying to like get hot and get like a little slump buster action. So he's chasing a little bit more, trying to new launch angles up a little bit this year. And really trying to get behind that ball and just do something different because, pretty much the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So you got to mix it up. But I don't know. It's looking kind of ugly. The Wario meter is probably about a 5. If this goes on for another 2 weeks, like we really got problems here. And we're going to have to talk about possibly dropping him because you're not going to get any value for him. If you want to take the shot and try and acquire him on the cheap, I would. But again, it's a riskier end of the deal if you're trying to acquire Randy or Rosarina. But if the price is right, the price is right. But let's sneak in one more, and that's Bo Bichette, somebody I called a bust going into the year, and with good reason. Bo has been on a decline over the last couple of years, and it's just not as pretty, I would say. Why can't I get my right page here? Here we go. It's just not great. Like he's been on a decline here for quite some time. Like when he had that amazing 2021 season where he had 29 home runs, he had 25 stolen bases, right? It's gone down every year. 2022, 24 home runs to 13 stolen bases, right? So that's 5 less home runs and 12 less stolen bases. Then we go to the last year, right? Now he's down to 20 home runs and 5 stolen bases. Yes, still a little bit of injury, but still, I don't see a path where he's just like this kind of declines. And now we're here. He's got 1 home run through the month and he's got 3 stolen bases, which is obviously a better pace than last year. Don't get me wrong, but he's batting 210, where at least he was substantially better than most in batting average, where he's batted 298, 290, 306. This year, 210. OBP of 263, a slug of 305, even an OPS of 568. Right now, I'm really worried. I'm about a 6. Now, I can't drop him. You drafted him at like the 4th round. I mean, same thing kind of with Randy, but I mean, like it's a little harder to come by here. Like, I don't know. Do you bail and you kind of go and trade these guys away while you can? I don't know. Do you wait? Right now, I'm waiting. I'm holding. you're not going to get value. Like, no matter how you swing it, you could try and offer him away, but nobody is going to give you what you paid for. You're going to go down several tiers, you know? So, I mean, Bo is somebody that kind of was just one of those guys I think is just, I kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm seeing a pattern and it's getting worse. I hope I'm wrong because I like the kid, but you know what? Sometimes the cookie just crumbles in the wrong direction, and that might be Bo Bichette's career right now for this season. But all right, we got one last round of sponsors, and we're going to be talking. And when we come back, Manny Machado, Edwin Diaz, Zach Eflin, and Chris Bassett if we have time. So stick around for right after. And I've been told I've had a competitive side, and I know Dom would think that's true if he was here with me. And yeah, I do. I have a super competitive side. We all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you heard of it. We've been talking about it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist of Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of different Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities and bringing in big money. But the best part is messing with my friends, right? I can charge them rent on iconic properties like classic Monopoly, but now I can also rob their vaults and steal their riches for myself and the leaderboard for me to show that I'm the biggest Monopoly tycoon and rub it into all my friends. But it's also not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with your friends and after you've stomped them out a little bit, now you can help them build up their world and team up to join the tournaments and earn huge rewards. So get in the game, join now with your friends, download Monopoly Go, now free on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. All right. So, like I promised right before the break, I do want to talk about Manny Machado, another guy I'm worried about. Okay. He had the off-season surgery. Doctors kind of said he might not be right until 2025. And there was a little bit of bright spots, but ultimately it just hasn't been great. Um, this season specifically, he's had what 111 at bats, 15 runs, three doubles. The four home run parts is nice. Don't get me wrong. Um, 13 ribs, 9 walks to 28 strikeouts. Ugh. And batting 252, an OBP of 308, a slug of 387, not atrocious, but an OPS of 696. So, like, yeah, like the counting stats aren't horrendous. Don't get me wrong, but the batting average is definitely out of character. Yes, he batted 258 last year, but the year before he batted 298, 278, 304, 256, 97. Like, he's a career 279 hitter. So I expect 265 to 279. Like, that is kind of where I'm at with him. He's not doing that. He's striking out a hell of a lot more, so he's affecting you a lot more in points leagues. And if he's not producing during that week and like these coming clumps, then he's a negative contributor to your team week in and week out, and that is not good. That's not what you want from a guy you picked pretty high. Yes, Machado came at a discount this year, but still was enough for me not to be upset by this. Now, I'm more of like, I'm not like completely freaked out in those regards, but like these last 2 weeks have been really ugly. You know, 3 for 15, batting 200 over 2 weeks, 8 for 35, batting 229. Was only through those 2 weeks able to get two ribs for you. And with those strikeouts in points leagues, he's absolutely decimating you on the week. So Manny Machado, I am worried about, but I'm kind of like at a 5-6. I'm not ready to be like full panic mode. Alarms are going off yet, but we're getting there. And if this trend continues, if he's getting sore, which is a possibility, we're in for a rough season with Manny Machado. So just remember, maybe if you can, you get a decent offer for him, you might want to accept. We'll talk about it. Join us on Subtext, and I can give you a guide on that. Let's move on, though. I want to get through these guys. Let's talk Edwin Diaz, a guy that, honestly, I'm a little disappointed at, but I kind of expected it as well. We all forget that, like, yes, Edwin Diaz was the best closer in baseball before he decided to go and get hurt during the WBC. But, we can't expect him to come back and just be incredible right off the bat. Even though he has a nice ERA at 253, I just expected a little bit more from him, especially over the last couple of games. He just got hit up and blown a save. He's been blowing saves left and right, like blowing up your ERA essentially, and has just not looked pretty. Over the last 2 weeks, he hasn't even gotten a save, and he's had a 491. and a 164. Now, I'm not worried. Don't get me wrong. He's on the show more because of how he's performed over the last 2 weeks. Not really just an overlook of his whole season. Only 4 weeks of baseball, and he's working his way back. But for him to start off hot and then kind of slow down, it's kind of like a little bit more on like the I'm not so satisfied thing. He's on this episode just based off of that, and people may be freaking out. I don't know. Maybe this is an irrelevant guy. He's not as bad as John, Hader, but Edwin Diaz is somebody that people may have some concerns about. I wanted to address, but let's move on because enough on him. Talk Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin, on the other hand, boy oh boy, let's get in it. Zach Eflin right now on the season has a lot of ugly stat lines. Here we go. So he's started about 6 games. He has 35 innings, 30 strikeouts. He has a 4.08 ERA. He has a 3.73 FIP, really independent pitching, which is essentially what your ERA would be if you had an average defense behind you. And a 1.189 WHIP. So like the WHIP isn't atrocious, but right on that borderline of where it could get ugly. The ERA is ugly. Even the last couple starts has not been great. Let me pull that up. Actually, I have it on the next page here. So Eflin has had a 4.08 ERA, 3.68, a 4.63, a 6.35, a 5.25, and a 9.53. That's been his season right now. All those starts suck. Like, they hurt. I don't understand it, in terms of like, why is this so bad? But I mean, you look at the games where he had like gotten blown up and the ERAs are in the 4s or the 5s. It's matching up entirely. So I'm like, oh my God, there is something wrong. I think last year, honestly, was a fluke. I was lower on him this last year, this coming into this year. Wasn't drafted him as a top 36 pitcher. I think this may be, a full blown, real thing where he's kind of back to his own thing. He had a really nice season, a nice late age breakout, and now he's ready to just, kind of go back and be Mr. Irrelevant again. He's 30. Yes, I believe in later age breakouts at pitcher, but versus bats, but still, this is not good. And Zach Eflin has never been a picture of health either. So maybe he's dealing with some health concerns, but I don't know, man. This is looking ugly. I'm at like a 7, definitely a 7 on Zach Eflin, and it's something to definitely be concerned about. If I were you guys, I would possibly try to move him if possible. I'm going to start breaking down a little bit more of like his advanced stats real quick here. So like you look at his sinker from last year to this year, he's down almost a whole mile per hour. His cutter right now is down a mile per hour. His sweeper is up, which is nice. 4-seam fastball is up, which no, it's the same. I apologize. But like it's just not great. Like, I mean, even last year, his sinker batting average was a little bit better. His curveball was untouchable. This year it's at a 250. His cutter last year was untouchable too, was pretty good too at 278. It's at 293. Like there's a lot of underlining stats that are saying like, hey man, like your pitches are getting hit. I think maybe people have figured out his pitch mix. Maybe he's hurt. There's things. I'm rattling off at a 7.5. Zach Eflin, full blown freak out on this one. I'm not dropping him because of how high you had to pick him, but I might be trying to slide him into a trade and let him be a landmine on another team. So, keep that in mind when you're thinking about your Zach Eflin shares. But all right, guys, I want to thank everybody for being here. Sorry, Dom was not here. Dom had another family emergency. His family can't catch a break. So, if you can, keep him in your thoughts, prayers if that's your thing. Yeah, Dom should be back this week, hopefully. But until then, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. I think we're doing, must ads again and probably end the week with some more prospect talk. So stick around. We'll see you later in the week. Have a great rest of your day, guys.